Do you ever think that it is a safe or good idea to tell in-laws, like, the disagreements that happen between a husband and a wife?
If you can trust that in-law.
Okay.
If you can trust that in-law has the marriage's best interest at heart, yes. Something that I say when I'm providing therapy,
or even coach marriages.
When we have coach marriages and couples, is that especially us both, we'll make it very clear when we have a couple in front of us. We're not on the side of the husband.
Nope.
We're not on the side of the wife.
Nope.
We are on the side of the marriage. And
Period.
so it has to be very clear from the wedding on. You guys are here to support the marriage.
That's good.
And so your dad was always there to support the marriage.
Yeah.
My mom has been here to support the marriage. But I have to have enough wisdom and empathy and understanding to know that your mom has had to go through life experiences where she's had to protect her children.
That's good.
So today, she will still err on the side of protecting her children.
That's good.
But do I have enough empathy, awareness, understanding, and patience to say, hey, I get it? Babe, what are we talking about today?
No, we are talking about in-laws.
Yeah.
I did think you had a great segue, though, too. You want to go back to it? You can run the tape back.
It's too late now. We here. So, yes, we are talking about in-laws because our in-laws are they're the group of people. I mean, technically, we can choose our spouse based off our in-laws, but I don't think that would be the wisest thing to do.
Right.
Because... I mean, with me, you only had my mom, and then my mom tried to pray you away anyways.
She really did try to pray me away. Like, she really tried to pray me away. But the great thing is, me and my mother, she's my mother in love. We have the best relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll talk about how we got to having the best relationship, because when we first got together, she definitely tried to pray me away. I was almost 2 seconds from being like, I don't know if I can do this. Because, like...
So what was that like for you?
Well, at first, I thought that she still saw you as, like, her, like, baby versus, like, this man.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, what is happening?
Yeah.
But you guys aren't even like that. So it was like, I don't know what was going on.
Yeah. Because I was like, Mom, what are you doing? Like, I haven't lived with you since, like, how long? Like, chill.
Yeah.
But it's also, and I say this, I didn't allow myself to be babied or to be treated in any way. Like, there's some mother-son relationships out there where you do have a very motherly mom, but you also have a somewhat man-child that allows the mom to be motherly, or not even allows, like, because, I mean, your mom's going to do what your mom's going to do, but embraces.
Oh, there's a whole show about it. It's called Mama's Boy.
Oh, that's right.
And, like, we watched that, and oh my gosh, that show, I cringe.
That'd be wild.
Like, I cringe on some of the things that, like, I see, like, the sons doing with their moms, and, like, it's a very weird kind of relationship.
Yeah.
And it really grosses me out.
And they really be like because something will happen in the relationship, and then you are expecting it to cut to, like, you know how they do the behind the scenes interviews?
Yeah.
Like, and it cuts to the relationship.
Yeah.
But it cuts to the mom and the son.
Yeah. Right.
It is,
or
like,
then, like, it has the spouse or, like, the significant other, like, to the far, like, left, like, she's the third wheel.
Yeah.
Which is, like, weird for me, and I think that's
And the mother
weird.
and son, like, yeah, we just believe this is going to be the best thing for us. And the wife or spouse, like, yo.
Yeah.
I'm here. But that wasn't our situation.
No,
to say that.
Thank you. I'm glad that you said that for the people who are listening to this.
Yeah. Be like, well, was he a mommy?
Yeah, no.
I was single mother raised, but I was my
own. You were your own man. But I will say, though, that when that became something that even, like, I did not question, but it made me concerned, only because of the fact that it wasn't like I would have been upset about, like, here, how do I say this? I want to make sure that you have a good relationship with your mom. because I think that is important.
Yeah,
I think it is important for a son to have a good relationship with his mom, because to me that says a lot, how you respect and you honor your mom. And if you have like parents, how you respect and honor your parents. That's important to me.
Oh, that's incredibly important. Yeah.
And so I don't think that was something that I wasn't not looking at. It was just like how much of it.
Yeah.
Because I think that there becomes a point where I don't want to compete with my in-law.
Yeah, for
or
sure.
my in-laws, because I feel like that kind of now impedes on what we're trying to do as a family or couple.
And you bring up a very great point, especially for like people who are looking to get married or in the process of getting married, is to be very watchful and aware of how the person treats that opposite sex parent. So how the son or treats their mom, how the daughter treats their dad, or more than just treating the relationship with, right, is very important, especially even like if you're looking into children also, because what type of relationship does your future in-law mom have with the daughter, dad, and so, or with the son, because so forth, what'll happen is when they have kids, that's the type of relationship that potentially they can have with your children together. So it's like there becomes a huge need to really be observational of your partner's parental relationships.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to say they tell all.
Yeah. But it tells a portion.
It tells a very
tells a story.
It tells a very large story.
Yeah, it tells a story because it tells what they may be dealing with and or struggling when it now comes to your relationship.
Yeah.
When it comes to what you guys do together, maybe comes in between how, if let's say your in-laws have an extremely large voice in your spouse's life, that they may become more familiar with what the parents say versus what the spouse says. Again, and not saying that it's a bad thing per se, because I do believe to some degree, like, hey, I might call, my mom, or before my father passed, I would definitely call and ask my dad for stuff for advice, like if it was like buying a car, I would like include my dad in the conversation, but the end decision would always be me and you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was something that definitely, like, I valued my parents' opinions, but they were not the final say.
For sure.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing that it's like, I think we want to be conscious and aware of. I'm going to say, even like when it came to my mother-in-law, it was something that I 100% kind of looked at and made me nervous. But we were able to have this conversation to move past it by having a dialogue. Like we had a very good talk. Like
this was before
marriage?
Was
before marriage. Like before marriage, me and your mom started to build our own relationship. We would have our own, like, just kind of like, who are you type situation, I think for us, because again, we are years apart, I think initially it was kind of like just your mom's expectation of, the daughter-in-law that she thought she was going to have, which is like someone younger and someone that she can like pour into.
Yeah, I couldn't marry nobody stupid.
Yeah, and then here comes this grown woman, and like, she's looking at me like I can't necessarily pour into you. I don't know what to do with you. Like we're almost not on the same level because your mother's older than me, but you come with wisdom and I don't really know how to deal with that. That's not bad. I just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And I feel like we established our own relationship. And what I can say is where we kind of got over the hump of things is that we would just talk and it would be outside of you. Then
yes.
We built this beautiful relationship to the point my mother-in-law lives with me. And for most women that would be in this situation, they're like, I am not finna live with my mother-in-law. Like, absolutely not. Like, that's crazy. But for us, I was good with it because your mom came to me, and I'll never forget, and I was blessed and honored that she had said that. She was like, "Listen, I know we're all deciding and this is something that we're thinking about." Well, mind you, your mom was at our house all the time because she was
Yeah.
so excited to
We
have.
had a 2-bedroom. She'd be sleeping on the
She
couch.
would.
Like,
She would just be coming over,
moms.
but
No, it's
she
fine.
was a blessing because she was like, she just wanted to be with her grandchildren.
Yeah.
And so it got to the point where we kind of had to entertain this conversation like, like, I think we should all move in together because how much you're here, it just makes sense. And she talked to me and she said, "Listen, you're the woman of the house. This is your house.
Mm-hmm.
However you want to decorate it, however you want to do things, whatever you want to do, this is yours. I am the mother-in-law, but I am not like, I don't supersede you."
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that number one, that was like a holy revelation. Cause like she came back and was like, she had to go to God. And the Lord had to kind of reveal to her like who I was, what was I about, the relationship and how she would build it with me. Like even to the point, there's times where we have this like kind of running joke where I'll say, "Get your son," and she'll be like, "That's your husband." And like,
Somebody got to get me.
right. But she does that to let it be known the order that takes place within our home.
Yeah.
And I can say the moment that she did that, how much honor I gave to your mom in doing that. I don't
Mm-hmm.
ever want to feel that you would have had to choose between me or your mom.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want that.
Yeah. But it was I don't want to say requirement, but what was helpful is that you guys both kept a healthy understanding of what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
That a marriage was starting, so
Mm-hmm.
its own family unit was starting, and what it took was, I think you've said it multiple times, is that a conversation needed to be had,
Mm-hmm.
and two people needed to come together to have that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Where I haven't seen much, and heck, I've barely even experienced with my in-laws. Where we like,
Oh Lord.
I know, I know, I know. I still love you, mom.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But like, where my mom was like, and you were at Kane's like, "Hey, let's talk about this
Yeah.
and let's figure out what this is and what it's gonna look like and what it's gonna be."
Yeah.
Because and then once you do that, it's like now I understand you, you understand me, what needs to be done
Mm-hmm.
to establish our relationship and what type of relationship do we want. So there was no assuming of the relationship.
That's
And I
good.
think that's what happens where a lot of in-laws go left is because there's an assumption of what the relationship is to be rather than letting then it's kind of like marriage. Like we don't assume marriage,
Mm-hmm.
right? We are intentional about the marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So let's equally be intentional with our in-laws. The hardest part with our in-laws is that it takes two.
Yeah.
So the in-law also has to want to come to the relationship as well, because I know with your mom, my and for me, to me she's just mom.
Yeah.
Like I don't see the same way our daughter is not my stepdaughter, that's my daughter, is the same way mom is my mom. And I say that because I don't feel like I treat her any different from how I treat my mom.
Yeah. That's true.
I'll have whatever conversation I want we need to have. I'll say whatever, but I also know I can only have the conversation a relationship up to the point that you want to
Yeah.
have the conversation in the relationship. But I love what you're talking about is because there was, and maybe probably what, and I, well, no, I just know because our situation's different, but there was a coming together and like, hey, let's have this conversation where you both were like, you both humbled yourselves.
Yeah. 100%.
And we're like, I'm not going to, this isn't going to be just, and I think, and maybe here's what's different,
Mm-hmm.
maybe potentially, is in our marriage is that your mom hasn't had other in-law children.
Right. Well,
You,
no, my mom does have other. She did have other in-law children on both sides, like, between all of my siblings. But I think that the difference, and I hear you beautifully trying to dance around it. If we were to compare,
Because if you say it, I don't get to get
I
in much
know,
trouble.
I know. That's why I said I already knew. Um, my mom is very strong, and my mom comes with a lot of strong opinions. And my mom has her own way of belief of how she runs her household, what she feels she can say, different kind of ways of operating, and that are contrary to what we do. I would say especially as it probably relates to my oldest daughter, because our oldest daughter is obviously, I was a single mom, for to kind of explain and bring context to it. I was a single mom, and during the time of being a single mom, my mom really stepped up and helped me in a lot of different ways. So
Yeah, that is another layer.
my
Yeah.
mom was like the person who, like, would pick up my daughter. She would, like, be there with my daughter when I would work. Whatever I couldn't, when I was absent of not being there to provide for my child, she was there. When I was going to school to get my degree, she was there. So, like, automatically, my mom has a very much so vested interest in the relationship with our eldest daughter.
Very vested.
And so, when I say that, when it comes to our parenting style of how you and I choose to parent our family, my mom my mom feels as though she can speak and say anything as it relates to my oldest daughter. And it has and does change the impact and the dynamic of the family, because where she may not have much that can be said per se to our two youngest, she feels that she can say to our eldest or about our eldest, because she's like, I was a part of raising her.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is something that I, like, on my side, have to acknowledge and be thankful for and so appreciative of, because there's a lot of characteristics and qualities that our daughter holds today that wouldn't be there if it wasn't for your mom.
Yeah.
And so it's like being extremely grateful for what she did and what she continues to do, yet still trying to figure out, and I don't want to say that we're still trying to figure out, but in the midst of when you're, newly married and you're having, for us, marrying into someone who already has a child, and the in-laws have been an integral part of that child's life. Now having to, okay, how do we get on this same page
Right.
of what we are going to do now, especially what it looks like for a Henderson household.
For sure.
But what you said, and it sounds like a simple and easy fix, but it's not for everyone.
It's not.
It's really just coming down, sitting down and having the conversation.
Yeah.
Because I know, I mean, there's been plenty of times me and your mom have had conversations, but then there's been other times when it's just been left unspoken.
Yeah.
And, for whatever reason, whether it's, and I can fall on the sword should I need to, is me not, going to her and having the conversation, or me asking my wife, hey, what do you think we should do? And then you giving, your mother best. So,
Well, because I mean, if I be honest, like, depending on the conversation that you're going to have with my mom, it might not come without a fight. And so the reality is that for me as your wife, of having to navigate that, is that there's just some things where I say, no, we're not going to do that. And it's for me to then determine the boundaries that have to be set, because it's my family dynamic. And when I say my family, I'm talking about my family dynamic. And
for
I think
sure.
that this is where the scripture comes into play about leaving and cleaving, because there were things that took place in my house or in my home and in my raising that we do completely different in our home and our raising. And so in order for me to protect that, I have to put up the appropriate boundaries that are associated with what we may not do, because that's not how we roll.
For sure.
That's where I have to leave And I know that a lot of the leaving and cleaving is really directed towards the husband, but the reality is I think that it comes from kind of both places about, you having the person that's representing the in-laws might have to be the person that sets the boundary.
I agree with that 1000% because there were things that even with my mom and like, hey, Gage, should I have this? I want to have this. Hey, my mom is open. Trust me. And then what we can do is we can like prep a little bit,
Yeah.
and like gear them towards it. And by me doing my prepping, me coaching you through it and how to handle my mom, you guys have been able to develop your own wonderful relationship. But it's also me knowing my mom, what she can and can't handle, and then
For
almost
sure.
giving you the playbook and how to run the play with my mom.
For
For
sure.
example, I love your mom. I love my mom.
Yeah.
Love mama. Okay. But I remember there would be times, Gage, don't play with my mama.
I told you. I told you.
And I'd be like, nah, like this is cool. This is our relationship. Gage,
no,
you
don't play
you
with
don't
my
play.
mom.
I'm like, but nah, but we're cool. She gives me, I get her. And then before I know, what happened? I told you, I
don't
done
play with my
told you.
mom.
And I'm like, okay. But what I'm saying is regardless of what position you're in,
Yeah.
even within what we had to do was we have the insight because we've left the family, but it doesn't mean we don't know the family.
For sure.
So you know them. So I need to trust that of course, know them better than I know them. But did I humble myself?
Yeah.
To the knowledge that you had and just ran the plays that you told me to run?
Not at the time.
So
now you know.
So now I know.
Because my mom did exactly what I said. And not in it. And what we're saying, just so we know, I don't want to be cold. Basically, like he would joke around with my mom about various topics. And I would say, don't say that because my mom is like a low-key grudge holder. Sorry, mama, but it's real. And so
like we know our family's gonna support us, so we're just like, we just love you guys.
Yeah, we just love you guys. Disclosure. But like you can't play with my mom like that. Where if I say something like that with your mom is gonna she'll be like, oh, because I've learned her humor. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I had to be honest with you. And then when it did backfire, and she was like, one day we had a disagreement because we had a disagreement about how we were, raising our older daughter. Like she came for my husband in a way that was like, bro, like you were like, I didn't know you felt that way.
Yeah, because we could have talked about it.
And it hurts you to your core.
Yeah.
Because I know you love my mom and you respect my mom. But for me on the other end of it, it was like when my mom did it and she got upset, I remember just kind of just still honoring my mom and still honoring who she is, but having to politely tell her, hey, you don't have jurisdiction in this household. I love you, but this is how we are raising our daughter because I have a responsibility to make sure she doesn't do XYZ.
Yeah.
I have a responsibility that we train her in the way that she should go. We have a responsibility as a husband and wife to show love to our children, and this is how we're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when that happened, my mom was upset at first, but then we went on a huge family trip. And I believe that she truly got a chance to see how you love our eldest daughter.
Well, because at the same time as you continue to honor her, I don't have a choice but not to honor her.
Yeah.
That's mom now.
Yeah.
Two have become one.
That's good.
That's mom, that's dad. So regardless of the dynamic, honor your mother and your father and your days will be made long. So yes, we get that it comes to length of days and longevity of life, yet still I believe there's a clear principle there that you always start with honor.
Yeah.
And honors in your conduct, honors how you talk about them, how you treat them. And so, for example, are we ever going to be able to have the overt conversation? Maybe at one day, God willing.
Yeah.
But we also know that a lot of things with your mom is very covert.
Yeah.
Where I knew I was in trouble if I didn't get a Christmas present.
Man. Or you got a Christmas present and the Christmas present told you what she felt about
What she
you.
would buy on a shirt.
You'd be like, whoa.
Okay, I guess I'll wear it. But
Right.
no, I got a Christmas present. She gave it to me with a smile. So I'm like, okay. Again, I know, but I'm doing my best to learn my mom and understand her. So her love language is gifts.
Her love language is gifts.
But
that's how she says, I'm sorry.
But I've also had to understand, and I've learned this lesson when your dad passed. I may see you as mom.
Yeah.
I may see you as brother. I may see you as sister. I may see you as family. But I have to accept that you might not see me as family.
That's deep.
So it's not, it's my responsibility to see you as such, but then allow you the opportunity to invite me in as such.
Ooh, that's good.
And not be mad, not be upset, not be angry, not be vindictive, not be retaliatory, not take it off the table because you don't see me as son or treat me as brother.
And I will say that you do a very good job of that because despite the way, because there's some people, like if we just be honest, like there are some in-law relationships that can be very challenging to the marriage. I will say that you've never put me at the odds of my mom. Do you know what I mean? Like,
why would I put you at odds with my mom?
Because that's how you see her as your mom. That's good.
Yeah.
And so I'm saying that because that's where, like, we have to understand, like you said, going back to honor, that don't put your spouse at odds with their parents because that's their mom, that's their dad, and it's like that's the only one that they have. And like I say that because like even like my dad passed, but what was beautiful is that you had the most beautiful relationship with my father.
Pops was dope.
Like you had the most beautiful relationship with my father, and I could have never asked for anything like greater. And this wasn't even because like, you know, my dad did some things when I was younger that wasn't like the best. You know what I mean? Like he did some things that were like, look, I'm not cool with that. That's not cool. We were raised in a dysfunctional household, all of that, right? But when my dad and I came to a place of healing with one another, when I learned what happened with my dad, one thing that I can say is that my dad really took the time for you and him to get to know each other. Like, you guys would sit there and you guys would just talk. Like, you guys would talk and just talk about life. My dad would confide in you. And then not only that, even when my dad did some things or would say something like about our past, you would hold him accountable to it. And be like, no.
Well, because I have to balance dad. Like, that's my dad. This is my wife.
Yeah.
And so I'll respect you as dad. I'll give you that role and entitlement as dad, and I'll allow you to operate as dad. Mind you, never having dad in life, but that's the role God has given you in my life. So this is how I treat you and honor you in such a role. But let's not forget, this is my household.
Yeah.
And there was still a mutual understanding in that, because there would be times where he would, oh, got to go to your wife. Nope, to go to your wife. That's your wife. So again, everyone knew. And everyone was on the same page of, these are our children. This is their house.
And supporting the marriage.
And supporting the marriage and supporting the household first and foremost. So we would have that dialogue of, I have to lead this family.
Yeah.
Now, I will do it with your advice, with your input. I'll learn as much and glean as much from you, but then also having to build our relationship gingerly and gradually. Hey, you now, Pops, you've invited me in.
Yeah.
So now that you're inviting me into some stuff when I know.
Yeah.
Respectfully, Dad.
Yeah.
You did some things too.
Yeah.
Now, but I gotta be respectful to Pop. I gotta, because that's still dad and I gotta honor him as such.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where I think we have a tendency to, like, we don't know how to hold two things at the same time.
So what is that?
So again, it's the weight of the relationship. And we prioritize one over the other, which oftentimes we either, if it's our direct parent, we prioritize the parent over the spouse, or if it's then we prioritize our spouse over the parent. And so we're literally fumbling at both of these relationships because we're not providing it equal weight. If I can see me and you as one, I could treat them as my parent.
Yeah.
But I can also accept that I've left and cleft. So yes, we are one, you are parent, but this is my priority.
Yeah. Now I'm going to ask you a question. Do you ever think that it is a safe or good idea to tell in-laws like the disagreements that happen between a husband and a wife?
If you can trust that in-law.
Okay.
If you can trust that in-law has the marriage's best interest at heart, yes. Because something that we say whenever we've coached clients, or not clients, I'm thinking of my therapist. But yeah, it was something that I say when I'm providing therapy.
Or even coach, we have coached marriages.
When we have coached marriages and couples, is that we are especially us both, we'll make it very clear when we have a couple in front of us. We're not on the side of the husband.
Nope.
We're not on the side of the wife.
Nope.
We are on the side of the marriage. And so it has to be very clear from the wedding on. You guys are here to support the marriage.
That's good.
And so your dad was always there to support the marriage.
Yeah.
My mom has been here to support the marriage. But I have to have enough wisdom and empathy and understanding to know that your mom has had to go through life experiences where she's had to protect her children.
That's good.
So today, she will still err on the side of protecting her children.
That's good.
But do I have enough empathy, awareness, understanding, and patience to say, hey, I get it?
Yeah. That's good. Because I think what you said, and it kind of goes back to what you said earlier, it comes from somewhere. Like the dynamic of what your in-laws may have went through not justifies, but helps to explain and maybe bring context why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
But I think that the best thing that a spouse or a family unit should do when you're maybe experiencing an in-law or in-laws, because in-laws can even go to like the sisters, the brothers, the siblings, all of them, everybody else. Like,
that's the thing. You came with a whole pack. I came with one person.
You did. It's true. But what I'm saying is when you're experiencing all of the in-laws, I think that it's so important is to determine what do we come into agreement with.
Yeah.
What are we in agreement with? How do we want to operate? How do we want to operate as husband and wife? What agreement are we making as if we bring children into the picture? If maybe we don't, whatever our dynamic is, the husband and wife have to be in agreement with it.
And you can't hold back.
No.
Like, you got to tell me everything.
Yeah.
Because I need to know what I'm dealing with.
But see, and that's deep, because the thing is, I think, and that's when I knew that I can trust you. That's when I knew that I can love you, because the reality is that I did not hold anything back. You were probably the first person that I told a lot of my stuff to, like whether it be what happened to my family, whether it be what happened to me, what happened to my mom, and like, I had to tell you everything, because I wanted to make sure that, hey, when we're going into this marriage, this is what we're going with. This is my baggage. You know what I mean? This is what I'm carrying. So that way, like when you said you're encountering something, you understand where it comes from.
For sure. But I had to have enough maturity to say, okay, this is what you're coming with, but I still got to develop my own relationship.
Fact.
And so just because I know things, I don't know nothing today.
That's fact.
So I got to take past awareness and couple it with my present action.
Yeah. And I would say that that's a beautiful statement, because you came into it when our marriage first began. It was at a point where me and my dad weren't talking. And I remember one of the things that we did is that I had to, like, you met my dad, but I had to go have a very heartfelt conversation with him. And when I had a heartfelt conversation with him, like, I was able to see, and I see my parents like this anyway, though. Like, I see my mom and my dad because they both went through different things. It doesn't excuse their behaviors of what they do, but I empathize with it and I'm compassionate towards it because I understand, because I see their humanity. I love them as my parents, but God has allowed me to have enough emotional maturity, spiritual maturity, and just the authority that is within my life to see them beyond, like, just being my parent. Does that make sense? And I'll never forget, we had this conversation with my dad, but you still developed your own relationship with my dad, to the point, like, my dad really did respect our marriage, like, without a shadow of a doubt. But I'll never forget, a week before he passed, one of the greatest things that he said to me, he was like, listen, he goes, baby, you have a good man. You have a good husband. And I was like, I know, like, being kind of silly. And no, he like stopped me and was like, no, you have a really good man. You have a good husband. I need you to know that. I need you to know that. And when now I look at what he was doing, he was reaffirming that I was okay, that I was safe, that he approved of you. Like, my dad walked me down the aisle when it came to you. You guys talked before then. But before he passed, my dad died knowing that I was going to be okay. And I bring that up because that's the type of fruit I pray for anybody that may be listening to this, to kind of have that type of relationship with your in-law. Like, with my mother-in-law, I don't call her mother-in-law, but I call her mother-in-love. My mother-in-love, we have such a relationship even till this day, where I'll never forget, there was something that was going on. It was just a rough season. And I remember, like, how I would communicate. One day she just sat me down and we sat at the kitchen table, and she so lovingly said to me, like, you don't have to get your point across that way. Like, you can say this and with so much power and so much edification and so much love by not having to raise your voice. Like, you don't have to do that. And I remember, like, how she did it, how she just talked to me, the authority that was behind it, just the love that was behind it, and the edification. Like, she just really broke it down. And I'll never forget when she said that to me, I changed the whole game from that point forward. Because that's the type of relationship that we are in. That's the type of relationship that we got to.
But
it was almost like a Naomi and Ruth.
Yeah.
It was like, your people will be my people. We say that, actually. She says that all the time. I'm going wherever y'all go. Your people will be my people.
But you allowed mom to be mom in that moment.
100%.
And you, even as the woman of this household, humbled yourself to be daughter in that moment.
Yep.
When you had every right to say, hold on, who are you talking to? This is our house. You just live here. No, hold on. Mom is speaking.
Mom is speaking.
So now I need to allow myself to be daughter and trust that she has motherly advice and wisdom for me.
100%.
And do I love myself enough to be mothered?
That part.
Or am I overly prideful where I think I got everything figured out?
No.
Because a lot of times is that you keep that pride and you never, because these the people that have gone before us, they've done it over and over and over and over again. So we're really shortchanging ourselves by not allowing us to receive.
That's good.
Now, this is when you have a healthy in-law.
Okay. So what happens when you don't have a healthy in-law?
Because what can happen is that, I mean, really when you don't have a healthy in-law, is that whatever boundaries were pushed and pressed within the initial family relationship, they continue to be pushed and pressed within this relationship.
Okay.
Because unhealth just breeds unhealth.
Yeah.
But the only way you're able to stop some of those things is by asserting what type of family this is.
Yes.
So
So make that practical. What does that look like?
Our in-laws on both sides were made very clear before the marriage what type of household this is.
Yes.
They were made very clear about the things we do, the things we don't do.
Correct.
They were made very clear about how we engage and operate. Like there was no stone left unturned.
Not at all.
About our intentions, about our goals, and there was no sugarcoating it. I took your dad out to dinner.
Yep.
Had a probably 2-3 hour conversation with him, letting him know my intentions, letting him know my hopes, my goals, my dreams, letting him know everything that I had planned and where we were at today and where I plan to get us to.
Yeah. And you did the same thing even with my mom.
And I went to your mom's house.
I didn't even know you did that.
Went to your mom's house, had the same conversation with her. About, hey, this is what I'm planning. This is what we want to do. And this is what marriage is to me. But also, tell me what you think.
Yeah.
Let me hear. What are your thoughts? Does this have your blessing? Are there any concerns? Is there anything I should be aware of? Please help me. Hey, I let you know. But now I'm about to take your daughter under my covering. So you know what that covering is going to look like.
Yeah.
So when coming 5-10 years down the line, you don't get to question. You knew what this covering was going to be.
Yeah. So what would you say to the married?
Let me just finish this part. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
But I also, as I've created this covering, have to make sure that this covering honors what was done before me. Because honor your mother and your father and your days will be long. So I still have to honor them through the marriage of how I treat their seed, their fruit.
Come on.
So if it's unhealthy parenting, then I have to do everything in my power to make sure that my spouse receives something healthy.
Yeah. I think it even goes back to the question, and I'm going to even say this, because you just said something that was profound, is that you still have to honor the seed that you have now kind of taken out of their home and now you've placed as a covering. So when the spouse, either spouse, whether it be the husband or the wife, is no longer honoring what was done, would it be wrong for in-laws to come in and be like, yeah, no, I don't like this. I don't like the way that you're treating my daughter. I don't like the way that you're treating my son. You've done something, you've caused harm to them, something to that degree where now they feel they have to intervene to protect what was originally their child.
I think that's what family's for.
Okay.
Like, it takes a village.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing done well is done in an incubator. Like the reason, and that's, I mean, that goes back to, what we talked about, like, because all I hear is when I start seeing and hearing isolation, because that's what it is, an incubator. Like if other people don't have the ability to speak or say or correct, like that's just that's abusive at that point.
That's good.
You want power and control for what?
Yeah.
So no, that's why it's if you want to safeguard the marriage, you steward the relationships around the marriage. And the direct relationships that are around the marriage are the in-law relationships.
That's good.
So it's almost like yes, this is our family, but it could be prudent, I don't want to say it is because I don't know, everyone's situation is different. It could be prudent and beneficial to have another layer of covering over because it could be the most safe covering. To where if you guys are truly and genuinely on the side of the marriage, we can come to you both authentically, both fully, both with no reservations, and be able to receive correction how we need. I'll give you an example. My mom knows I need you to be on the side of the marriage.
Yeah.
The only way this works is if the marriage works.
Yep. The
other day, it's me, you, at the kitchen table. My mom's in the kitchen, cooking or doing whatever. And then Michaela's sitting there also. Me and you get in a conversation. My brain starts going. I shut you down immediately and I'm already moved on. I'm like, okay, cool, do this move. And you're like, whoa. hold on, I didn't get there. And then so now we get into an argument, and I'm just like, I'm becoming more demeaning, condescending. I'm going someplace that I don't even realize I'm going just because I've already figured it out.
Yeah.
So we stop and say, Mom, hold on. Now it's different because my mom she had a front row seat.
Yeah.
she in the splash zone.
Yeah.
But I can turn around and say, hey, on the side of the marriage, tell us what just happened.
Yeah.
Okay, Gage, you did this, you didn't do that. Da, 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 da. Now, Kim, could you? Yeah, but Gage, da, 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 da. Oh, my bad.
Yep.
Let me go back now because I trust that my mom is on the side of the marriage. She can also trust that we are not going to withhold anything. We're going to be fully forthcoming. And then we are both going to submit ourselves, because when we go to the in-law, what we're asking is like, hey, now we need a parent.
Yeah.
We need to be parented in this.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to you as an equal. I'm not going to you as, we are coming to you as son and daughter.
Yeah.
Like, that's how we're coming to our parents.
Right.
But do we have the, and it's very layered. It's hard because not everyone can do this. But that's when you have to find the people around you that can do it. But do my in-laws have the maturity to know when they need to elevate themselves to parent?
Yep.
And when they need to come down to just, I don't want to say in-law, but just in-law.
Yeah.
And then do we have the maturity to continue to operate as our own family unit while humbling ourselves to authority, parental authority?
I think that's what you just said, though, and you said it so well. Number one, I do want to go back because you weren't going, it wasn't like you was going crazy, like, but it was something that you had said. I think I was giving you my thought and like you had cut it off. And your mom was like, yeah, you cut her off. Like, you didn't let her finish her statement. And if you probably would have let her finish her statement, then you would have heard the fullness of what it is that she was trying to say.
For sure.
And I remember just being in that moment. And also not kind of throwing it back in your face like, like your mom's on my side or anything like that. No, I didn't do that. And so like it was one of those things where it was like almost like a conflict resolution within our family. But one thing that I can say is that it's truly like the emotional maturity that takes place, because we don't hold a grudge with it. Like, we don't hold a grudge within like what's going on with as far as the marriage. There's not a grudge that your mom holds against me or a grudge that like is being held against you. So it's one of those things where it's like we really just get to a place of truly like understanding that if you have the emotional maturity not to hold the grudge, not to continue to just keep them to that place or space of that I don't know, whatever they did wrong.
Yeah.
But if there's a safety issue, of course, I feel like your parents might have to intervene. But it's all about the humility.
Well, that's when they should intervene.
That's when they should intervene.
Whenever there's a safety, that's the thing I will say, that whenever there's a safety issue, anyone should intervene.
Oh, for sure.
Like, and by you not intervening, you're literally just condoning and perpetuating it.
Right.
And so you are now co-signing off on the abuse that's taking place. And please remember, abuse is more than just, oh, well, they don't hit each other. They don't, is there emotional abuse? Is there neglect present?
Yeah.
Is there any is there anything is there anything happening in the relationship? Because all in violence, in relationships within marriage, domestic violence is deemed as power and control.
Right.
Is there anything that the partner is doing that is reinforcing, promoting power and control over the other partner?
Right. And so but again, it goes back to, as you stated, that if the parents are part of this, again, there's a leaving and cleaving, but there is a responsibility to take care of the other spouse that you have now taken on, to protect, to love, to honor, to do all of those things.
And the relationships that come with it.
And the relationships that come with it. So if you have another child, like all of those things are you're responsible for now. And you're responsible to steward over that well.
For sure.
And then if you don't, Yes, don't be upset when your in-laws have something to say.
Yeah.
Because now you're looking at it as like, oh, your in-laws have something to say. No, that's because you're not doing right by the relationship.
So you wondering why Thanksgiving and Christmas is always jacked up.
Right.
You did that.
Right.
You
exactly.
had a whole year to figure out how you was going to make this relationship healthy, healed, and whole.
Right. Yeah.
But now, because you wanted to continue to doing what you wanted to do, you didn't want to come back to the relationship, you didn't want to make amends, you didn't want to just humble yourself. Now we gotta go to Thanksgiving.
I gotta see your mother-in-law.
Oh my God, Mother's Day's coming.
I gotta see your father-in-law. But all of those things, like you said, it's about stewarding over the relationship.
For sure.
It's about humbling yourself, that when they do see something, can you humble yourself to be corrected by them?
Yeah.
Because that's love.
But it's also their child.
Right.
So I'm going to say you don't have no right to say nothing about your children or your grandchildren.
That's good.
Like, my mom will check us in a heartbeat. Hey, you guys put your phone away.
Yeah.
You right, Mom.
You right.
You right.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that you have no place or business to speak about your child.
That's good.
Come on. Like, who do I think I am?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. You are my wife.
Yeah.
I get it that we have left and cleft, and now you are my cover. You're a Henderson.
Yeah.
But you still have a mom and dad.
Yeah. But I think that it goes back to even what you said, though, and what we say and what we live by is that we have a responsibility to make sure that we are on the side of the marriage. So no matter who it is.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, this is just me, and maybe I don't think that, I'm sure you can add to this or redirect it or whatever. But if whomever, the in-laws, friends, whoever who is outside of the family unit, do not respect the marriage, do not respect the family that we are building, then you have to set the appropriate boundaries.
Oh, for sure.
You have to say to them, and boundaries come with consequences when they're not followed.
Yeah, you don't get access.
So you don't get access. It's not a bad thing. It may sound like harsh reality, but that's the reality of it, is that if you have an in-law, if you have someone who is doing something that is wrong within the relationship or causing discord, causing dysfunction, causing the ability to kind of be, husband and wife to be at war with one another, and you're not supporting that, then it's okay to no longer be around.
Yeah.
And not saying that because I think there's the reason why we kind of went into that position of like, if there's isolation, if there's abuse and all of that, that's a different story. That's not what we're talking about here.
Yeah,
because there really can be some meddling mothers. There can be some meddling fathers. That's a true thing. So I'm talking about for those where you have to say, hey, that's my wife. I remember the one story that my mom and dad will always say is that I had a grandmother who was overbearing. And I remember my mom would tell me that she would come over and like she would criticize the way that my mom would cook. And my mom's an amazing cook, but it would be like one of those things like she would kind of like taunt my dad and be like, see, she doesn't cook like how I do. And just kind of little jabs at my mom. And I remember my mom being really sad about that. But what my dad would go do is that he took his mom aside and said, listen, that's my wife.
Yeah.
And you can't disrespect my wife. This is her house. This is the place that she has made comfortable. And so in this particular case, you can't talk to her like that. Go ahead.
And because I was able to put myself in position of son, oh, that's the play you run, Dad? All right, Mom. I got to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, that's good.
Because that was hard for me to sit my mom down and have to tell her certain things of how she was, especially as we got married, because now that's new. So yes, you and her built your own relationship, but there were some things that still needed to be corrected on the other side of the marriage that you were telling me like, hey, this is going on, Gage, we need to do something about this, and all it was still just my mom having to learn, again, single mother raised, having to learn how to allow me to be my own man.
Yeah.
Especially when there was a significant period of our life where we were not in relationship with each other.
Yeah.
Me and my mom.
Yeah.
So my mom what she was doing was really just trying to go back and be a mom that she wanted to be during a time when she was not present.
Yeah.
But as my wife is telling me how she feels, I don't know what to do about that. Like, that's my mom, it's my wife, and I don't know. Oh, now I'm talking, hanging out with Pops. Pops, like, this is going on. What? Oh, you did what? You sat mom down? How was that? How did you do it? What? Tell me the. Oh, so now I'm hearing the play to run.
Yep.
I'm hearing why you run that play, the importance of the play, and then also just understanding how he values and sees marriage.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. All right. Well, set, go. Go run the play. And then, but now, based on humbling myself as son, allowing myself to receive, I can go run the play and we have a wonderful, healthy experience. But I do want to go back to what you said about meddling mothers and meddling fathers, is I think what we're talking about is those parents who are just divisive.
Yeah. And sometimes they don't even mean to be. Like, I'll say there's some that maybe are intentional with it, and there's some that they just don't, they may not even realize that they're doing it. Because maybe they did it with one sibling and one child, and that wife and, you know what I mean, that wife and dynamic really like maybe called for that or didn't call for that.
For sure.
And then they just kind of duplicate that same thing in another marriage. But either way it goes, they're meddling.
Yeah, and so when you set the boundary and you limit access now, again, limiting access and setting a boundary is not retaliatory, it's protective. So I have this family that I'm stewarding over well. I'm spending time with, I'm pouring into, I'm training up in the way, I'm covering them, but everything I'm doing is being undone. So now I have to be protective. It's not an excuse not to receive correction.
That's good. Yeah.
We sometimes may look at anything that goes against our status quo as offensive when it's simply just, no, you're just receiving parental correction.
Yeah.
You're having someone inquire about why you're doing what you're doing, the purpose of what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're having to answer to an authority that is a parent.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? No, I'm going to put this boundary. Well, because you can't answer to authority?
Right.
Because you don't like what it feels like to have someone press into your business?
Yeah.
That's not an excuse to now put up boundaries and limit access.
That's good.
Because you can't handle having to answer to someone else.
Yeah.
Because this is a family now.
Well, I think that before a boundary set, you have to have a conversation.
Yeah, but then that goes back to what you started this whole thing off with, was the conversations are had.
Yeah.
So we're past the point of conversation.
Yeah.
Now, if you haven't had the conversation, yes, go back and have those conversations, have those sort of quote unquote coming to Jesus moments, lean in with, hey, we need to talk. And these are the things that I think we should talk about. We need a family reset.
For sure. And even gain an understanding. Because you may be able to understand why that mom or why that dad is reacting the way that they're reacting. If like you said, if we go back to just our family dynamic, my mom had to protect us. I went through a first failed marriage, and by way of having to protect my oldest daughter. And so there comes with a level of hurt that she was trying to protect. So she didn't mean harm in it
at all.
She just was like, I'm just wanting to protect because maybe I failed in protecting the first time. So I'm going to make sure that I protect the second time. But you can have grace for that.
Oh, for sure.
You can have you know what I mean? Like, there's a grace for that. And so all I'm saying is that it just depends on the dynamic, but have the conversation. It shouldn't have to be years and years of like, oh, I don't really want to go to the family's house, or, oh, all of these different things, when you can have the conversation. And if you can't, because there may be some moms that you just can't. There may be some dads that you just can't. That's just, unfortunately, maybe some things have happened in their life. But you can set expectations. If they don't meet those expectations, if they don't respect those boundaries, then you have the right to say, hey, I have to limit the access.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not because I don't love you, but it's because you're causing a strife within my home. You're causing a division within my home. You're causing a division within our unit. And so therefore, but again, I think it kind of continues to go back. What are we as husband and wife in agreement with? Because there might be some tough conversations that the other spouse might need to have. Like, you have the conversation with your mom. I needed to have the conversation with my mom or my dad. Like, it takes us having to have the courage and protecting our other spouse, because when you're leaving and cleaving, it's not my responsibility to just deal with it because it's your mom. No, that's your mom.
Mm-hmm. And let me give a practical example of how that worked within our life. You never met my dad.
No.
He never met his grandchildren.
No.
But I knew my dad was not in a healthy place.
Yeah.
I knew my dad, it would not be wise to bring my family around my dad for you guys to meet him in the state that he was in.
Yeah.
Now that was done with a lot of careful consideration, a lot of prayer. That was done with just also understanding my history and relationship with my dad, but it was also done with a hopeful heart.
Yeah.
That my dad would hopefully become healthy, which he is now. He's in heaven, so praise God.
Yeah.
But it was a hope that he would become healthy. But my dad had no physical access to my family.
Nope.
He was invited to the wedding.
Yep.
And he was invited to the wedding. But what I did though is I still gave him access by sending him pictures.
Yep.
By sending him videos, letting him know that I loved him, still thinking about him, still praying for him.
Yep.
And so it wasn't one of those things where regardless of the state he was in, he was just cut off.
That's true. That's a fact.
Where, oh, you just don't get no act, no nothing. Because, yeah, am I hurt that my dad does not want to get healthy, in my perspective, not get healthy enough for his grandchildren, not get healthy enough to be around his son, not be at the wedding that he was invited to that we saved a space for?
Yeah.
Like, all that hurts. Yet, and my grandpa told me this, and I stick by it to this day. You only get one mom.
Yeah.
And you only get one dad. When they're gone, they're gone.
Yeah.
So I can be at peace that I protected my family by limiting access while still honoring my dad by giving him access that I won't say he deserved, but access that was still appropriate for his role.
Mm. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Because I know that wasn't easy.
Yeah.
Because I just immediately think back to the conversations that we would have before, because we talked about like why I couldn't meet your dad and everything like that. And I remember having those dialogues, and I remember you sharing even just some of like your greatest fears and when your fear came to life. And so I just thank you for sharing that, because there's like some very, real situations that are out there that are like, man, I feel guilty if I didn't have like my mom or my dad. They can't be in the life of my family or my children. And I pray that someone just was able to get relief in that, because one day we'd hope that your mom or dad would get clean, and it's okay to create the safety and the boundaries that are needed until they do.
Yeah, but it's also, I would say, a tremendous encouragement and a charge. If they're still alive, if they are still alive, you have a responsibility to the relationship.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, I don't think they know what they'll do once they're gone.
Yeah.
Or they don't allow themselves to think about it and allow themselves to think about who it impacts and how it impacts them.
Yeah.
And so don't take those relationships for granted.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of these relationships for some people come with a tremendous amount of trauma.
Yeah.
So safeguard your heart, safeguard yourself, be safe.
Yeah.
Yet understanding for others, for those where it hasn't been a physical trauma, sexually abusive trauma, but, yes, there are emotional traumas and mental traumas, and I am and again, even trauma is a word that's all thrown around, but, like, sometimes these are just way the family systems are,
Yeah.
right? Um, where I would encourage, we don't know what tomorrow holds and brings.
Yeah.
Um, Yet it's what we do with tomorrow.
Well, I love that the scripture that does say, "Honor your mother and your fathers, and your father, and your days will be long." That scripture never came with the fact that your parents were always gonna get it right.
Or be honorable.
Or be honorable. It just says to honor them.
Yeah.
And honor may look different in different seasons. Honor may look like being loving towards them and peaceable towards them and showing them grace where they can. It
Mhm.
doesn't always necessarily mean access. Because if you're getting hurt, if you're being harmed or anything like
Yes,
that, it's
yes.
okay to cut off access. But it could be that when you do see them again, and maybe they are remorseful or maybe they're not, but you still show them love, that's honorable.
Yeah.
You forgive them,
That say that.
that's honorable.
Say
When
that.
you can get to a place of forgiveness with them, towards them, about the relationship, you will elevate your ability to be healed in ways that are unimaginable.
Just say that.
So,
And my first thought was like forgiveness, whether deserving or not. But hold on, hold on, hold on. For all have
yeah,
sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. So who among us deserves forgiveness?
not even me.
So why should we continue to operate in these relationships with our parents as though they
Mm,
owe us something
that's good.
for what they did or didn't do?
Yeah.
Or why can't we just be grateful for what God did through it?
Yeah. I was born by way of them. So, no matter what, right, wrong, or indifferent. And again, I'm not saying that anything that you've experienced in your childhood is okay. I'm not saying that at all.
By any stretch of the word.
Not any stretch of the word. And I'm saying this because of what I know I've been through.
And what I've been
I
through.
was born in an abusive household. My father
Mhm.
was an alcoholic, functioning alcoholic. It was every abuse in when it comes to verbal, emotional, all of that. But I am honorable for the things that my dad did teach me.
Mhm.
I am honorable for the things that my dad was in my life. So at the end of the day, I was able to elevate my thinking to an understanding and see the humanity of my parents. See maybe why they do what they do, why they're protective, why those things. And so now it gives me just a certain grace when I'm interacting with them. I don't get mad at them. I don't go off. I don't hold them to holding me back from experiencing the fullness of God and the fullness of love in a marriage because of what they did. Like, no, it's fine. I forgive you. I've put that at the throne of grace and allow him to heal that.
Yeah.
So now that I can be in my family and not see the traumas of, well, you like my dad or you like whatever it is, you know?
Mhm.
I can heal from that and I can move forward. But the best parental relationship that's ever healed was how I see my heavenly Father when I was able to overcome the wounds of my family, the wounds of my father, the wounds of my mother. When I was able to be healed from those wounds completely, I was able to see my father in a new way, in a fresh way, in a loving way.
And when you don't heal from those wounds, you really hinder the next generation
Yep.
because they only then persist in the same relationship with instead of allowing them to have their own renewed, restored relationship.
Yep.
Allowing grandma to be grandma, grandpa to be grandpa,
Yep.
and getting a new, fresh experience and being at peace
Yeah.
that they get to experience something healthy,
That's good.
that they get to experience, that they get to see
So this just came into my mind. I think it's even a level of healing that they receive when you can do that. There's a level of healing that your parents receive when they see your family unit operating in healing, when they see your family setting the appropriate boundaries, when they see your family doing it does something inside of them and brings healing too.
Oh, for sure.
Like, it's so important because again, when we're operating as families and we have in-laws and we have things that they're seeing, don't ever forget, people, that at the end of the day, your light is shining before men so that they may see your good works and glorify God in heaven. Your family is a ministry. So you are ministering to your family right now when the way that you're loving your in-laws, the way that you're conducting yourself at the family gatherings, and not like you're better than. I'm talking about real healing takes place when they get a chance to see a God-fearing family and what that looks like.
Because imagine you are literally, if you have in-laws or one day plan to have in-laws and have children, you are the bridge between these two generations.
Woo, come on.
A literal kind of connection point that is leading to health on both sides.
Yeah, that's good.
Just based on navigating this dance of family very intentionally with heavenly wisdom that only comes from above.
That's it.
Everything done in prayer, everything consecrated with prayer, allowing God to lead and guide the way, but not shying away from the challenge that is in-laws.
Yeah.
Supporting grandparents to be grandparent. My mom knows I need you to be, this is the type of grandma I want you to be. Here's why. My grandmother died at 3 when I was 3.
Yeah.
I didn't have a grandma.
Yeah.
My girls get to have their grandmother.
Yep.
Now, this is the expectation of grandma.
Yeah.
Why? Because they don't have grandpa.
Yeah.
So, you knowing all you know, being around how I raised, but it's a navigating. So now my mom not only gets to heal her mother wound because her mom died when I was 3.
So good.
She didn't have that support. She's actively healing year after year after year while these girls get a fresh experience.
And it even heals her daughter wounds. And the reason why I say that is because my mother-in-law edifies me so much and like, you're doing a good job. She tells me all the time, you're such a good mom. And like, because there's sometimes where I'm like, dang, am I doing this right? And she will come in and be like, yep, you are. And how much value she adds. And I'm so thankful for my mother-in-law. Like our children are not, we as parents are responsible for how our children conduct themselves. But I can definitely tell you it's the prayers of the woman that's downstairs every single day. I can tell you it's the one who, if we aren't doing the affirmation, she's leading them in the Lord's Prayer. She's doing all of those things that are making sure that it honors in support of what this family unit is about. So it's like you want the healthy dynamic of a in-law relationship.
But that was not without me and you getting on the same page, being clear on what that is, communicating in clarity to others, and now having a requirement to the relationships involved.
So good.
This is the expectation.
So good.
So I pray that this was a blessing.
Yeah.
I pray that this was an encouragement to someone out there. Please continue the conversations and somebody might be listening. I mean, you may have been listening to a lot of these podcasts or going back and just like running them all through, but if you're getting excited and encouraged to do something now and to take charge, good. Keep that.
Yeah.
Don't go in it just haphazardly though. Because marriage and family, the issues that you may be dealing with or preparing for, or whatever it looks like, these things take time. So just as much time as it took to get there or as it's taking to get there is as much time as it may take to have it resolved.
So good.
So don't feel rushed. don't feel pressured, but begin to take steps. Get your own clarity first. Go home, journal, write these notes down, write down things that you little keys that you got. What Start writing out what your plan may be, talking to your partner, or maybe preparing in yourself of how you may talk to your future partner. If you're single, begin incorporating your parents and what it would be like for them to be, just start having that dialogue.
Yeah.
Right. And then in time, as you're in agreement with the people around you, then start taking the next action steps, because we understand that this may be encouraging for some.
Yeah.
Yet we also want to ensure that this is done safely and responsibly.
Yeah.
To where it's only a health and benefit to the relationship.
Yeah.
But please continue the conversation, continue to like, share, subscribe, get this out. If it was a blessing to you, let it be a blessing to others. Share it with someone else, or just take a note, something that you got that was like, hey, I think this was healthy. This is something that the Lord gave me. I want to share this, because the goal is for everyone to be able to experience this. We are not perfect by any stretch of the means.
Yep.
We're just saying, hey, we'll just put our lives on display, and whether our in-laws like it or not, we gonna say it.
I love you, mama.
But we do thank you for tuning in. We pray over you. We pray over your family. Again, we just pray that this was a blessing, but in always, we help. He's the one who heals.